Hello, everybody. My name is V the Victim, and it is good to be back. Gielinor Games Season 4, Episode 1 came out on Saturday, and as expected, it was an absolute banger. Soup did such an amazing job, and it's got me so excited to watch the rest of the season as it comes out. It's also got me excited to make more of these review videos. I was really looking forward to doing it right after the episodes. I recorded Episode 1 of the reviews the day after we recorded Episode 1 of the games, and about a week later, my computer exploded. Not literally, but I lost my hard drive and everything on it, had to do a full wipe. And that included the first review, and it also included all of the content I had saved up from my sequestered series. So that series, unfortunately, just ended up being completely dead in the water. And the reviews for this time around are also going to have to be just done, with the hindsight live. And I'll do my best not to let that color my analysis and the way I feel. I have some notes, I have my footage, so I'll just go back through those and try to give you guys as honest of a take as I can on all the stuff that I was feeling at the time. Plus, it is nice, though, to have a little bit of stuff to comment on from things I didn't know about, like other players' confessionals and stuff. So hopefully it still ends up being a pretty good series. Also, just wanted to thank all of you who responded to Soup's survey after the end of last season, said they enjoyed seeing me on, said they wanted to see me back, because I think that played a huge part in me getting an invite to Season 4. And I love Gielinor Games. It's one of my favorite things in gaming to be a part of. Don't think I could have done it without you all, so thanks very much. Anyway, on to the most important stuff, the episode. So the first thing we find out as we roll up for GG Season 4 is the format. And the format is free agents. That's the same as last season, and so I think a lot of people, myself included, assume that there'd be a lot of stuff in common with the last season. However, Soup almost immediately hits us with the twist, which is the tribunal. So the winners of the challenge, the top 3, get to be in the tribunal. They're safe that week, which is a huge deal. And the 3 of them alone decide who is going in the banning, at least one of the people going into the banning, which is insane. So last season, it was really important to have a big alliance or be apolitical. You didn't want to be in between. You didn't want to be one of the foot soldiers who people thought they could eliminate for numbers in the vote. And this season, it just doesn't matter. Basically, your individual friendships matter because if you have the majority of the tribunal not wanting to put you in, you won't get put in. But as far as having a big alliance and this massive safety net and everything, it really isn't that important, which is a huge change from last season. That said, I do think that a lot of people had their eye on the farmers. The cast didn't change a ton, but we got some pretty good rotation. And part of that rotation was all 5 farmers being in. So this is Foe, MMORPG, Mr. Mammal, Z Cookies, and Roidy. Those 5 are basically, I think a lot of people, myself included, saw them as a ready-made alliance, just nicely packaged, rolling straight up into the episode, into the series. And that's a threat. When you have a pretty tight-knit 5-man just rolling in like that, more than a quarter of all the competitors, that's a huge political force, even in a season where being solo is more important than being a team. Definitely was something to watch for me and a lot of the other contestants. That said, solo performance this season was obviously going to be the number one thing. If you're in the tribunal, you're safe. You can get a ticket all the way to the final by winning every week. And not only winning, but just being top 3, which is not nearly as hard, obviously. And for me, I pretty much knew going into this episode, or had a very strong feeling at least, that if I didn't get in the tribunal, I was going to be in the banning. Moving on to the challenge, it's a Soup Says kind of collection challenge. You got to pick up spawns that no one else has picked up and bring them back in a certain time limit. And I was really confident, and I did really, really well in this challenge. I just farmed Lumbridge because I banked successfully on a lot of people not wanting to pick these common items or go to somewhere like Lumbridge because they assumed that someone else would pick them. So I telly into Lumbridge, I'm the first one there. I make sure that I pick an item up. I make sure no one else is there to grab after me. And I felt really good. I felt really safe until I didn't account for the cabbage next to the Alcarid telly spot in the Alcarid Palace. Totally forgot about that. So I burned myself grabbing the last item in the basement, the cabbage. And man, I just felt stupid because I had so many items. I had just been writing a notepad of all my ideas, and I had so many items that I could still get. Oh, I don't remember if it was, I don't think it was taken, but like insect repellent and Catherby. I had underneath miscellanea, there's the engine and the lift manual. I had like 6 or 7 items where I was just free, just floating into the tribunal. And I let myself get cabbage, man. Like, it was just brutal. Those one slip up, one dumb mistake, not taking the risk or not taking the more secretive options that I had on deck. And like I thought, that landed me in the banning. Torvesta and Bodhi, I figured would put me in and settled. I thought, we're friends. I like the guy. We were in an alliance last season, but this is this season, and all 3 votes come up be the victim, and it's banning time. And one of my biggest goals for this season coming in was don't get eliminated in the first episode. Literally the first episode, like because I watched last season, I watched Verf, who won the previous season, go get put in against Solo Mission in a corrupted gauntlet challenge instantly day one, and that's just brutal, man. Like he just got buzzsawed, and yeah, I mean, I hadn't played a lot recently. I was sitting there like, all right, who's my opponent? Is it Solo? And then Soup reveals the second big, massive twist, which is that the person voted in by the tribunal to the banning picks their opponent. And this one was even crazier than the first one. Like the tribunal is a huge change, it matters a lot, but controlling your own destiny when you're going to the banning is unlike anything else that we've seen in GG. Up until this point, if you get put in the banning, your fate is in someone else's hands. You don't get to choose the challenge. You don't get to choose your opponent. This time around, although you have to pick your opponent before the challenge, so it's not that unfair, it's still just insane. And I looked at everyone in the games, and really there's no like super gentle way to put this, but you want to pick someone you think you'll beat. You're not going to match yourself up against someone that you think you'll just lose to. I wasn't going to pick Solo Mission week 1, the guy who, he plays day in, day out. It's his job. I haven't played in 4 months. I'm not going to just log in and be like, yeah, Solo, let me take him on, and then get buzzsawed in the corrupted gauntlet like a moron. So I went ahead and I picked Z Cookies. She'd mentioned she didn't have a lot of main experience. She seemed kind of nervous, and after watching her confessionals and stuff, I feel so bad. I feel so bad that she had like gotten a cider and kicked her feet up and was just big chilling. And then I'm like, oh, by the way, you're in the banning. Good luck. Like you're going home. So yeah, I feel terrible about that. And she's so nice too. Like I talked to her a little before and after, and yeah, she's just an awesome person. So I felt terrible. But it's the Gielinor games, and you're surviving or you're not when it comes to the banning. And I wanted to survive, so I picked what I thought was the best matchup. I ended up winning despite not being super confident, and I do think I would have lost if I picked someone like Solo, because I think they would have gone cheaper than I did. Time told that it was a good decision. And I think that I've read some comments and gotten a couple DMs that are like, there's a big debate on whether or not it was okay to pick Z Cookies. But first of all, I think that's super patronizing, because she's not a bad player by any means. She's just not as good as some of these insane people with 20,000 hours in the game. But I also think that anyone in that situation would pick what they think is best for them. They might pick a stronger opponent, but if they do, it's because they think they can beat that stronger opponent. No one is going to pick someone that they think is either a 50-50 matchup or that they'll lose to. Like, why on earth would you do that? That's moronic. But I will say I do love, like, I think Zoe's gotten a lot of hate because of her, like, be the victim's a baby comment. I love that shit. Oh, it's so great. That's exactly like, I have nothing against Zoe. I go as far as to say we're friends. We don't talk a lot, but we're acquaintances and we're on good terms, and I like her. She's funny. She's cool. And like, oh, it's just such good reality TV, man. Like the fact that she's pissed a bunch of people off by calling me a baby and stuff. I love that shit. And I mean, I don't think she meant it, but even if she did, who cares? It's awesome. So I thought it was hilarious when that clip came up, and I just had this big grin on my face. It's easy to be liked by just staying low key and being like neutral, liked or at least like not hated. But being the ditter bitter, being Zoe making that comment, it's huge, and I love that. So props to her. And I hope that she doesn't actually get too much hate, because I think if people are smart about the reality TV format, they'll realize that you need that to be said. And I think that she stepped up and did that. I don't think that she actually has that negative of an opinion of me. And even if she did, like, whatever, wouldn't be a big deal. Anyway, banning's over. I managed to grab the win. And just massive sense of relief. My one goal genuinely was don't get eliminated the first episode. I managed to dodge that, and that was really all I wanted. But then Soup reveals the third of 3 huge twists from this episode, which is the Amulet of Choice. Now, not to brag, but I kind of made 13 bill last season, and I don't need the 200 mil, which is the first choice. So I think some people may pick that, but for me, just it wasn't even a choice. There's no point. Then we have the sabotage, and we have the immunity from being selected by the person in the banning. These are both really good options. But in my head, I don't think a lot of people are going to pick me to be in the banning. So I don't really like that option that much. After you've just won a banning, and if people see you as a threat, they're really like, no one's going to walk up the next week and pick you. That doesn't make any sense. So really the only option that made any sense to me was the sabotage. And the benefit of the sabotage is also that when you show that you're willing to go sabotage and piss people off, and you're willing to go after the people that put you in the banning, that just dissuades people from voting you in from the tribunal later on in the season. So in my head, I have to go sabotage. It's really the only option. We have no idea what it's going to be, if it's going to really matter, if it's going to guarantee someone that ends up in the banning. We have no clue. But what we do know is nobody wants to be sabotaged. And so in my head, you got to go sabotage. Soup made me pick on the spot. Bodhi, Torvesta settled. The guys in the tribunal, they got a stew on that. Just wondering, you want to make people uncomfortable? You want to make people worried about what you're going to do? And it's going to be interesting next week.